Dear students, welcome and thank you for tuning in to this video. I'm Dr. Loay Al-Zube and I'm continuing a series of lectures in medical instrumentation. In this video, I will be talking about the measurements of the respiratory system. The first thing I would like to mention here is the lecture outline. So I will be talking about respiration in general, what it is and what are the most important components of the respiration system and how to control respiration. And then I will be talking about block diagrams of air pathways, breathing reflexes, mechanisms, and lung volumes and capacities. Those are the topics I will be covering in a series of videos. Later on, I will be talking about, in other videos, about respiratory therapy and all the types of devices or instruments that we use to help people breathe if they need that, like inhalators, ventilators, respirators, and then resuscitators, humidifiers, nebulizers, and aspirators. And we will talk about medical gases and safety systems. So I will start with the first topic, which is block diagram of air pathways and respiration. So the first thing I would like to define is respiration. Respiration is determined by gases and pressures. Gas usually move from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure, and that is simple diffusion. If we look at the pressure outside the human body, it is 760 millimeter mercuries, and the intrapulmonary pressure is also 760 millimeter mercury. What is intrapulmonary pressure? Within the lungs, it is usually greater than intrathoracic pressure, causing the lungs to remain slightly inflated after expiration, and that's very important to keep in mind. Respiration is the interchange actually of gases between an organism and the media in which it lives. And we have two things, inspiration and expiration. And usually in inspiration, the volume of the lungs increase, and that is reducing the pressure of the inside the lungs just slightly, and that is causing air to flow inside the lungs. In case of expiration, muscles are, in both ways, inspiration and expirations, we have muscles acting, and we're going to talk about how to control inspiration and expiration in another video, in the following video actually of this video. But in the case of expiration, and muscles are pressing on the lungs, so the volume will decrease, and that is going to increase the pressure inside, which causes airflow to go outside of the lungs to do the expiration. We have also two things that I would like to describe and mention, something called internal respiration, and the other one is called external respiration. I want you to know what those are, and we're going to explain them with more schematics as well to illustrate. So internal respiration is the exchange of gases between the bloodstream and nearby cells, and this is happening inside the body, not in the lungs. So this could be in the tissue, like in the muscles, in the liver, in the heart, in the stomach. So that's called internal respiration. External respiration is the exchange of gases between lungs and the bloodstream, and that is what is happening in the lungs actually. So you can look at the schematic of the lung and how they are, where they are, and we are going to talk as biomedical engineers. We will be focusing our discussion to explain the diaphragm functionality as well as the intercostal muscles, which are the muscles that are connecting the ribs. Let's go back to internal respiration and external respiration. So for internal respiration, as we mentioned, it is actually the exchange of gases between bloodstream and nearby cells. And this is a schematic that shows that. So if this is a cell here, this is the capillaries, and the bloodstream is flowing through the capillaries, the red blood cells with oxygen. So what is going to happen inside the capillaries or the arteries, we have red blood cells, oxygenated red blood cells. So that means that the pressure of oxygen in the capillary is 100, high, which is 100 millimeter mercury. However, inside a cell, a nearby cell, because of the use of oxygen in metabolism, we have a low concentration pressure of oxygen, which is roughly 30 millimeter mercuries. And if we follow the rules of simple diffusion, oxygen will flow from high concentration to low concentration. So that's how the cells will get their oxygen. So the oxygen will detach from the red blood cells and go into the cell. On the other hand, we have high concentration of CO2 inside the cell because of metabolism. And in the capillaries we have, so it's 50 millimeter mercury. In the capillaries we have lower CO2 concentration, that's 40 millimeter mercury, and following the rules of simple diffusion, CO2 carbon dioxide will diffuse from the cells into the interstitial space to the capillary and the capillaries and the blood plasma. And that's what we mean by internal respiration. So this process is the exchange of oxygen and CO2 internally within the tissues. Now, for external respiration, where things happen in the lungs, I would like to start by talking a little bit about the anatomy of the lungs and what are the main components of our respiration system and the organs of respiration actually. So this is a schematic that shows that we're starting from the nasal cavity and then we go to the larynx and then trachea, and then you go to the right and left lungs, and we have branching from the trachea. We have something called the primary bronchus, and then we have branching from the primary bronchus, we have secondary bronchi. And I just want to make sure that we understand these and know the terminologies and the names. I'm sure that you took this in your anatomy class, but it's good to review that. If you had cross-sectional slice, a cross-sectional area of the lungs, I would like to highlight a couple of things. The first thing, that we are having something called pulmonary vein and pulmonary artery. And these, so the pulmonary artery and veins are actually, they are carrying blood. It's either oxygenated or non-oxygenated blood, and it's a little bit confusing for students, but I want you to understand that the pulmonary artery is the artery carrying blood from the right ventricle to the lung for oxygenation. So usually, blood goes back after finishing this process, which is the internal respiration. The blood is filled, with CO2, and it goes back to the right atrium, and then to the right ventricle, and it still have a lot of CO. It has a lot of CO2. And from the right ventricle, it gets to the lungs through the pulmonary artery for oxygenation. So we need to do the exchange of CO2 and to get more oxygen from the surrounding environment. Now, after doing that, the pulmonary vein is actually the vein that's carrying oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart, and then the oxygenated blood goes from the left atrium to the left ventricle, where it's get pumped everywhere in the body. So I just wanted to highlight this because that's important, and for us to understand how actually blood get oxygenated and in the lungs. Keep in mind that the pulmonary artery is the artery carrying blood with a lot of CO2 going to the lung to be oxygenated, and the pulmonary vein is actually carrying oxygenated blood back to the heart so that it can be pumped to the different parts of the body. Now, this is so what is happening? How is the exchange happening inside the lungs? And that's where the alveoli comes in. So alveoli, it's any of the many tiny air sacs actually of the lung, which allows for rapid gases exchange. And remember, so we said that the pulmonary artery is the artery carrying blood from the right ventricle of the heart to be oxygenated, and that's this part of the alveoli and the blood circulation system. So the blood comes from the right ventricle with a lot of CO2 here in order to have an exchange. And when we have the exchange of, because of simple diffusion, the blood in the pulmonary artery has high concentration of CO2, high pressure of CO2 and low pressure of oxygen, and they will have exchange here, as we mentioned in the air sacs, because the air sacs, they will have a lot of high pressure of O2 and low pressure of CO2, so oxygen will diffuse inside the capillaries, and carbon dioxide will diffuse outside of the capillaries into the air sacs outside the body. After the exchange take place, the oxygenated blood will go back to the pulmonary vein, and then that is going to take the oxygenated blood back to the left atrium to be sent to the left ventricle, and then to be spread around across the body. So this is important to understand how the process is taking place. And this is another schematic that is, giving us how the alveoli and the blood, system it looks like, and all of these are the air sacs around which the exchange will of gases will take place. One more thing that I would like to explain in this video, that we have something called this. I would like to explain the block diagram of the air pathway. So we start with the nose for air to flow in, and then you have something called the nasal cavity and the sinuses, and then you go to and that's here, that's where we are, and then pharynx, and then you go to the larynx, and then you have the trachea, and then you have the after the trachea you have the bronchi and the bronchiolus, and then you end up with the alveoli, which are those components or anatomical parts of the respiratory system, and then you end in the lungs capillaries, and those are the lung capillaries where the exchange actually takes place in the respiratory system. So I wanted to explain all of these for you as an introduction to our understanding of how respiration is taking place, and what we would like to understand from before we start measuring of the respiratory system. So thank you for watching till this point. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write them in the comment section. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you for watching, and till the next video. Bye.